Ever felt like your brain just hits a wall when emotions run high? You're not alone. ADHD brains often get overwhelmed by emotional intensity, making it nearly impossible to focus or take action. What if I told you the key to breaking through this mental fog actually starts with understanding how your brain reacts and how to work with it, not against it? Let's explore why emotional regulation feels so hard and how you can finally start making progress on the tasks that matter most. So, today we're going to be talking about how to escape the overwhelm, the ADHD overwhelm trap. And we're going to go through why this happens, what you need to know, and what you can do about it. So, first, let's just talk about this loop that tends to happen for us, right? We all know this. We start with a goal. Let me change this to white here. We start with a goal, right? And we know what the goal is. It's pretty clear. Let me get this to another color here. There we go. So we start with our goal, right? And we know what the goal is. It's often somewhat straightforward. It's simple. I'll use the example for me of this video, right? Making a YouTube video is my goal, right? So then what happens is we may not be aware of it, but a little resistance kicks in. What happens is a little bit of resistance starts saying, well, I don't know if I should do it right now. So the resistance isn't necessarily something we're clear of or conscious. It's just, I'm not sure if it's the right time, right? So that resistance makes us start thinking about planning. So what am I going to do the video on? How am I going to do it? Do I have the right equipment? Do I need a script? Et cetera, right? And now we've kind of started moving away from the task itself, right? So now we're getting farther from doing the thing because the resistance comes in. We want to plan, strategize, process. But then what happens is we start getting overwhelmed by the complexity. So now we're planning a series of YouTube videos, not one. We're planning a process for creating YouTube videos repeatedly. So we've just now made the thing way more complex. So now we start to lose sight of the goal. So now, because we're doing a whole system for videos and a process and a frame, we've lost sight of the fact that we were trying to make a video, right? So now what's happening is we're getting farther away from the actual goal, which just makes us more overwhelmed, more anxious. So then we go back to trying harder, and all it does is put us farther away, and we accomplish very little. So what we want to do is start understanding why this happens, but then most importantly, what we can do about it to get out of this. We want to break out of this cycle from the beginning and just skip all this stuff. We don't want this. This sucks. Yeah. So first we got to understand like what's happening in the brain. And with us with ADHD, a lot of us don't necessarily understand this so well. So first off, we focus on the procrastination. We focus on the fact that I keep wanting to make this video and then I do something else. I keep wanting, but what that is really, that's like the volcano, the tip of the iceberg. That's the end result. That's not what's causing this to happen. So when we dig deep and we see at the start is our executive function challenges. So at the start, because I want to make this video, there's the planning. Do I need slides? What's it about? How am I going to explain stuff? You can feel the anxiety creeping in for yourself, right? It's all these things that require planning and organization and working memory, the things that we are naturally not so strong in, right? So that starts it. So because it's putting a strain on our system, the amygdala starts firing, and that's telling us, uh-oh, something's off, something's wrong. We got a problem, right? So the body perceives it as a threat, which then ends up making it, much bigger than it is, right? So the danger comes in, and it's like, oh shit, there's a threat. There's something going on that is not good, right? And it's all started because we're struggling with these steps and it feels uncomfortable and the body doesn't know what to do with it. So these things start firing off, and that prompts us to the avoidance where we just are like overwhelmed. This is too much. I can't do it. So that all this happens in the blink of an eye. When, I think about making the video, bump, 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 bump. And then the resistance comes in. You know what? Maybe I'll work on a process. Maybe I'll work on a system. Maybe I'll do something else. And then that comes out as the procrastination. Let me go work on a system, a process. I'll do the video tomorrow, right? So what a lot of people don't realize for us with ADHD is what people see is this procrastination, or people experience it. But there's so much complexity going on beneath the surface that when we start to understand it, we can better navigate it. So now let's do a quick exercise. And what I'll have you do is I'll have you pause the video for yourself, get a notebook and pen. And this is what I do in the program and in our group and with my coaching clients. We take action. We don't just watch and learn, right? So get a notebook, get a pen, pause it. And what we want to do is think about something that we're putting off, think about something we're procrastinating, and start the process by thinking about, why does this feel so difficult, right? Why does this feel so difficult? What specifically is the hardest, right? Is it because the videos need to be perfect? Is it because I am not sure what to put in it? Is it because I have too many ideas? Is it because I need to organize it? Is it because I'm scared, right? When we start digging, what is it specifically that feels so difficult and which feels the hardest? Why does it feel difficult and which part? We can start pulling apart and figuring it out, right? So on the emotional side, it might be that I care so much. This means a lot. Scared of messing up, right? I can start thinking there's emotional reasons why I may be avoiding putting these videos together, right? Practical might be lots of steps, right? I needed to figure out the structure for this. I needed to organize it. I needed to have it set up. I needed to have the camera or phone, whatever. There's a lot of steps, right? Logistics, which sometimes is the main issue, but sometimes these things make the logistics impossible, right? There's the flow, right? The order of content, right? There's all these logistics, practical things that could be a barrier, right? So step one is trying to get to the root of what is it specifically that we're rubbing up against that's making us put this off, right? Now, let's talk about another component, another element here. And because us with ADHD have such a lifetime of challenges and making mistakes and forgetting things and all the things that are very common, it develops a lot of our identity. And this identity starts to be distorted, that we are going to mess up. We don't know what we're doing. For myself, there's been a lifetime of rushing, of being impulsive, of procrastinating. So there's this paradox where we're either think we're going to go too fast and rush it and be sloppy, or because of that, we want to take our time, and now we're worried we're never going to do it, and we're kind of like whiplash between them, right? We're going back and forth, back and forth. So what's important to note is just how your identity is playing into this and how you view yourself. So it's sometimes not about the task itself. There's a bigger story going on, right? And about our competence, right? And those research shows past negative experience diminish self-confidence and alter success beliefs. So we have a pattern of making mistakes. It makes us think we're incompetent or we're going to make a mistake. So then we're paranoid about it and then we're paralyzed. It's a cycle, right? And we just go in a circle. So what we want to also do, so we want to think about our identity, but then we also want to start clarifying because of that, so we don't get lost in the identity and what this means about me. Like we need to actually hone in on what is success. So success for this video is, did I make it and did I post it? There isn't really that much more, right? I'm not expecting 1 million views. I'm not expecting 100 customers. I'm not expecting people to write me and say, that's the best video I ever made. There's really a low bar of success. Success is, did I make it and did I post it? That's pretty much it. And when we acknowledge that lower bar and the specific objective metric, it's pretty binary for this video. Did I post it or did I not? Right? So now let's go to the next exercise, which you guys can pause the video and do these exercises. The next one is, what is challenging about this specific element and what does that represent to you? So for me, let's say it's making these videos, and one of the challenging parts is making it really valuable, making it something new, something that really makes a difference and helps people. So the perception is, well, that means that if I don't do that, my identity is that I'm not good at this, or I'm, incompetent, or nobody's going to listen to me, or my business is going to be a failure, and it kind of pop, right? So the perception is that this video needs to change lives, or the video needs to be novel, like new, unique ideas, right? Not the same old shit you hear. So the perception is that I have all this pressure there. And the identity is, am I capable of building this business? Do I have anything of value, right? So you start going through this and it starts unpacking this one thing that started with making a video. We can see that there's a lot more that's subconsciously going on, and it makes sense why it's so difficult for us to do that thing and we're stuck in the analysis. So another angle to look at this, another thing to think about is the cognitive overload cycle. So what happens is there's two parts of the brain. There's the, let me get this set here. There's the messed that up. There we go. There's the DMN and the TPN. The DMN, Dr. Hallowell calls the demon, which is the default mode network. And that's the part of the brain that's constantly in survival. It's keeping alert. It's thinking of scenarios. There could be someone there. What's going to happen? Imagination, the future, right? All the things that are narrative storytelling, the things that keep us safe and help us make sense. The TPN is task positive network. So that's when you're in flow, you're engaged, you're in a task, you're just executing and following through. What happens is the overthinking into the planning, into all the things that we just are going through. A big reason we're going through all these steps is so you don't start overthinking, right? We want to clear this junk so that, and maybe in 5-10 minutes, you clear this junk, get to the root of what's going on so that when it comes time to execute, you don't get stuck in the overthinking, because the overthinking is usually a result of a lot of these things, having a a tough time in the subconscious, right? So that rumination leads, that's a typo. So anyway, the rumination leads to more overloading. And then the cognitive overload overwhelms the prefrontal cortex. So the part of the brain that can think clearly and make decisions and, decide what goes on this slide, what goes on that one, what should I talk about? That's a very, that's a lot of power or a lot of resources needed to think clearly, make these decisions, right? So when we get overwhelmed and overloaded, that starts to diminish, which makes it harder to do those things. And it reduces our focus. And then our resources are depleted because we're draining ourselves, all up in here. And the procrastination just is the, cherry on top, right? So what we want to do is start clearing the noise, clearing the junk, figuring out what's at the root. How can I clear this? What is this really about? So we don't get stuck in this, which is the overthinking, the rumination, the overload, the, reduced focus, reduce it, the resources get depleted. Our brain's fried, which we all know. It's time to shut down. I didn't get anything done. I went in circles for hours and nothing is completed and we're in emotional distress, right? So we want to break that pattern. We want to break this cycle, right? So, the concept of all these steps is to help us, get out of this loop, solve this. So we're not, solve it at the core, right? So if I clean this up, I can actually just do that. If we get to the root here, the root of it all is these executive function challenges. We're having some friction, some difficulty. And the more we unpack that and get to the root of it, we can clear it. So then we can avoid all this nonsense and actually just do the thing. Like I'm making the video now, right? It's taken me a lot of different steps and I'm documenting that in this type of a thing. So how are you defining success? How would you feel personally? So now we can look at the outcome is video posted. I mean, it's pretty simple as that. Like there is no measurement, right? There's no subjective measurement. It's not good or bad. It's not, did the video work? It's, am I posting it or not, right? It's pretty straightforward. So I can lower the barrier and, how will I feel, experience, emotions? How will I feel? What's the experience of having it done and posted? I will feel accomplished. I will feel optimistic. I will feel energized, right? I believe that I will feel these things when I get it live and up because it's something that I've been wanting to do and I want to practice and do more. So this will give me confidence, right? And when we see the outcome is very simple and then all these benefits, we can start putting things into perspective. So the last thing we're going to talk about is the risk. A lot of us get stuck in fear and we outsize the risk. We make it seem bigger than it is. So the risk perception is, the ADHD brains tend to overestimate negative outcomes. And this just amplifies the avoidance behavior. So our brain does a little bit more on the trying to, help us protect us. So we need to reframe the risk into small, low pressure. Like I was saying here, the outcome is just, did I post it or not? So we want to lower the bar so we can reduce some of that perceived risk of this. And the planning and task initiation is, visual planning, external accountability. That's why my whole program is about keeping people accountable and having accountability groups. But we also want to simplify it and reduce the overwhelm. So for me, I did this workshop just about for the community on Friday. So I thought, hey, why not just do this for a video and I don't have to recreate the wheel. I don't have to make a whole nother thing. And I blocked off time. I put a couple hours to just say, okay, I'm getting it done no matter what. And I blocked off the time and it's happening now. So now let's do this last exercise is what's the simplest version of it and what's the most complex? And what's the risk of this one and the risk of that one? So ultimately, if you were getting stuck on certain tasks or projects and you went through these 3 exercises in about 10 minutes with a pen and paper, you'll probably end up in a position where you realize, I'm just going to jump in and do it at this point. Like I see where this is coming from. I understand what it is. I've brought everything to the surface. I've cleared the junk. So while this video may be, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes, you running through these exercises with a pen and paper real quick could become second nature, where you just start more intuitively saying, okay, what is this about? What can I do? How do I lower the risk? Can I make it simpler? So the minimal would be video of me talking to phone. And the complex would be, animated, scripts, editing, right? The risk of this is like time, money, complexity, right? It just starts going on and on and on. The risk of this is maybe like no structure, no clear message. So what I did, I'm finding somewhere in the middle, right? So I have these slides and I've got not a script, but I'm going through the slides. So that's easy. Slides and exercises. And, it's not on this side. It's not on that side. I can just think, okay, what's the middle ground? What's the middle ground? So now that we have started to, figure out, okay, I have my approach. I've got these slides. I'm going to go do it. It's really helpful to remind ourselves that the task iteration is a loop, right? So we're going to keep going through this in a row. So first task is making a video, right? Going to calm my nervous system and realize that there's a few things that are causing resistance. I'm going to acknowledge all the things previously in the video, like what does it mean and why, what are the steps? I'm going to relax myself and say, okay, let me unpack this for 5 minutes. Let me get to the root of this. And then how can I simplify this? Can I just present the workshop I did for the group? And I don't need to do editing. I don't need to make a whole nother slide deck. I don't need animations. That would make it simpler. So then now I can let me just shoot the video. And what's helpful is the reminder, this is the most important part here, is that when I'm done, I can post it and review and reflect on the process, what worked, what didn't. And then I'm set up to repeat and improve, and I keep the wheel spinning. So we want to keep this, as a wheel, right? And that way we keep the gears moving, right? So we don't get stuck. So last exercise is, what is the first step of the activity, task, project you want to do? What could be the first step? And what could prevent you from starting? So the first step is, record myself running through workshop, 1 take. So no editing, 1 take, just do it and see how it comes out, right? The barrier might be not sure what to say, haven't done before much, nervous, perfectionism, right? So that's when we have to now we're bringing these to the surface, right? So I'm seeing, not knowing what to say. I mean, there is no right thing to say. It is what it is. If it's not great, then oh well, I'll delete it later. Haven't done it before, that's a horrible reason, because that's the only way I'm going to get better is by practice. Nervous might be an indicator that it's exciting and it's something new, so that's something that I can embrace. And the perfectionism I can rule out, because the perfectionism is going to come with doing, 100 videos over and over and over and over. And the repetition is what's going to actually help me. So we'll just recap it real quick. And I marked the hell out of this thing. When we feel that loop starting, that we want to get out of the task because there's resistance, we want to go plan, make it more complex, just, stop that and get back to the main goal, right? Remember that a lot of it is because there's something firing about our executive functioning. It's the planning, the logistics. It's often one of those. So let's see, is it the emotional or the practical thing that's holding you back the most? And what does this say about you? What is this saying about your identity? And can we lower the barrier? Can we make the definition of success easier? So this is how I'm defining it. This is what it's saying about me. And this puts a massive load on the cognitive processing, on the prefrontal cortex, and just sends us spiraling. So it's hard to think straight because there's so much pressure. So we want to lower the bar. What's the minimum outcome? And how will I feel when this happens, right? So then we can say, what's the risk of this? Minimal, complex, which is a bigger risk? And is there somewhere in the middle? And then we end up ultimately with this spiral that is going to allow us to move in a iterative. We're going to keep moving. Think of it like gears. You want to keep them moving. Iterate. We want to keep improving. And you can't improve with, less than a few cycles. You got to keep it moving. All right. And the last part is, what's the first step and how are you going to take action? So for me, the first step, I've actually gotten beyond the first step. The first step is making this video. So I've made it. And now the next step is going to be not getting caught up in anything fancy and posting it. So with this, I am excited to see you in the next video. And I hope this was helpful. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time.